Sam was standing in the kitchen staring at a credit card bill when he realized something terrifying. He wasn't broke because of one big mistake. He was broke because his life had quietly become normal debt. The book that finally snapped him out of it is The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. It's a blunt, step-by-step plan to stop the bleeding, crush debt, build real savings, and turn money into something you control instead of something that controls you. This covers every major chapter, so by the end, you'll have the full picture. Sam's problem did not look dramatic at first. His paycheck hit his account like clockwork. His rent got paid, his car started every morning, his fridge was stocked. And that's exactly why it was dangerous, because under the surface, Sam had built a system that looked stable but was actually fragile. Think of it like a house with beautiful paint, clean floors, and a nice couch. But the foundation is cracked. You can live in it for a while. You can even invite friends over. But the moment the weather changes, the whole thing starts to shift. Sam's weather change came on a random Tuesday. His car made a sound that felt wrong, like metal complaining. He drove it anyway. By lunchtime, he had a mechanic calling him back with the kind of voice that means, "This is going to hurt." Sam needed repairs that cost more than what he had in his checking account. And in that exact moment, his brain reached for the solution it had practiced 1,000 times. He reached for the credit card. But here's where it gets interesting. Sam didn't even feel like he was making a choice. It felt automatic. It felt responsible. It felt like adulthood. Dave Ramsey calls that kind of thinking part of the problem because this book starts with a challenge that is almost insulting in how simple it sounds. You are going to do a total money makeover. Not a tweak, not a little optimization, not a maybe I'll be better next month promise. A makeover. And a makeover starts the same way a real fitness makeover starts. You stop lying to yourself about where you are. That's why one of the earliest chapters hits denial head on. Denial is not just ignorance. Denial is a defense mechanism that protects your habits. Denial is when your brain says, "I'm not that bad." Denial is when you point at someone worse to avoid looking at your own numbers. Sam had denial in perfect working order. He would say things like, "I'm not drowning, I'm just floating." He would say, "Everyone has a car payment." He would say, I'll pay it off when I get that raise." He would say, "It's fine because I always make the minimum payment." And then he'd go back to his life, like a guy stepping on a scale, seeing a number he doesn't like, and deciding the scale is broken. You face the person in the mirror. Sam tried it one evening. He sat at his small kitchen table with a notebook, his laptop, and a pile of mail he had been avoiding. He made coffee he didn't even want, just to feel like he was doing something adult. He opened statements. He wrote down balances. He expected it to be bad. He did not expect it to be that bad. When everything was in one place, his debt stopped feeling like some bills and started feeling like a weight. That's the first win in the makeover. It's not paying anything off yet. It's seeing reality clearly enough that you finally get angry at the right thing. Now you might be thinking, okay, but debt is normal. Isn't debt just a tool? And that takes us straight into the money myths and debt myths chapters, because Ramsey's whole approach depends on breaking the stories you tell yourself. A myth is not a lie you tell on purpose. A myth is a belief your culture hands you so early that you never question it. One of the biggest debt myths is that debt is a tool and that smart people use it. Sam believed this without even realizing it. He would hear phrases like build your credit and leverage and good debt. He would see people financing cars they couldn't afford and calling it normal. He would see someone put an expensive vacation on a card and call it making memories. Dave's position is blunt, and debt is risk. Debt takes your future income and handcuffs it to yesterday's decisions. Debt makes small problems turn into big problems because you don't have any margin. It's like driving a car with your gas tank always on empty. Until you hit traffic. Then you're stuck, then you're late, then you're stressed, then you're paying extra just to get moving again. Sam had been living on empty for years. The money myths chapter hits another nerve. People love to imagine that the rich have secrets, tricks, shortcuts, and mysterious investment hacks. The book basically says, stop fantasizing. The secrets of the rich are mostly boring. They spend less than they make. They avoid consumer debt, they save, they invest steadily. They don't build a lifestyle that eats their whole paycheck. That's not sexy, that's not viral, that's not a magic app, but it works. And it frustrates people because it doesn't give you a villain you can blame. It points right back at your choices. They think the hardest part of money is math. The book argues the hardest part is behavior. That's why it talks about two more hurdles. Ignorance, which is simply not knowing what to do, and keeping up with the Joneses, which is knowing what to do and refusing to do it because you want to look normal. Sam knew that second one too well. He had a friend who always had the newest phone. He had coworkers who upgraded cars like it was a hobby. He had social media showing vacations that looked expensive and effortless. Sam didn't want to be the poor guy. He wanted to be the guy who could say yes without thinking. Payments. And then he wondered why he felt trapped. Think of keeping up with the Joneses like running on a treadmill that slowly speeds up. At first, you can keep pace. Then you start breathing harder. Then you start slipping. And the worst part is you can't stop without falling because you built your identity on staying on that belt, even if everyone else thinks you're weird. Now pay attention to this because it connects everything we've covered so far. The book doesn't just say, stop debt. It gives a sequence. It gives you an order of operations. It gives you steps you can actually follow when your emotions are messy and your motivation is inconsistent. Those steps show up through the middle chapters, starting with a chapter that is almost comically specific. Save $1,000 fast. This is the part where people argue. They say $1,000 is not enough. They say emergencies cost more than that. They say it should be bigger. The book's point is not that $1,000 solves every problem. The point is that $1,000 changes your behavior today. It gives you a starter buffer so that the next small crisis doesn't go on a credit card. I mean, it is like putting a small wedge under a door that keeps slamming shut. The wedge does not rebuild the whole house, but it keeps you from getting your fingers crushed while you work. Sam decided to try it like an experiment. He set a timer on his phone for 45 minutes. He called it a money sprint. He said he would look for $1,000 in his life without changing his job. He walked through his apartment like a detective. He found subscriptions he forgot about. He found a gym membership he never used. He found an insurance plan he never compared. He found random purchases that were small but constant. Then he did something even more uncomfortable. He sold stuff. He had a gaming console he barely touched. He had a set of speakers he bought during a new hobby phase. He had shoes he never wore. He posted them, and then he got cash in his hand. That cash felt different than credit. It felt like control. He reached $1,000 in a couple of weeks, and something shifted in his chest. He stopped feeling like a victim of his money. He started feeling like a manager of his money. Okay, so if that was surprising, wait until you hear this. The next chapter is where the plan becomes famous, the debt snowball. Most people assume the best way to pay off debt is to focus on the highest interest rate first. The snowball method is different. It has you list debts from smallest balance to largest balance, ignore the interest rate order, and attack the smallest balance first with intensity while paying minimum payments on the rest. Why would you do that? Because personal finance is not a spreadsheet problem. It's a motivation problem. When you pay off a small debt, you get a win. That win creates momentum. Momentum creates consistency. Consistency creates results. It's like pushing a snowball across a yard. At first, it barely rolls. It feels pointless. But once it gets moving, it starts picking up more snow, and suddenly it's heavy enough that it rolls on its own. Sam had 3 debts that haunted him. One was a store card with a small balance that made him feel dumb every time he saw it. One was a credit card that carried most of his normal life. One was a personal loan from a past decision that still embarrassed him. He lined them up, smallest to largest, and he started throwing everything extra at the smallest one. Sam did not feel like a hero at first. He felt like a guy saying no to small pleasures. He felt awkward bringing lunch to work. He felt annoyed turning down plans. He felt irritated at his own impatience. But then, one afternoon, he made the final payment on the smallest debt. He stared at the confirmation screen like he didn't trust it, and then he smiled, which surprised him. That was not a math moment. That was an identity moment. Cherry, he was the kind of person who finishes what he starts. He took the payment he used to send to that debt, and he rolled it into the next one, exactly like the snowball method says. The second debt started falling faster than he expected. Here's the crazy part. Sam started getting addicted to wins. He began looking for extra money the way he used to look for deals. He picked up an extra shift. He sold another item. He negotiated a bill. He stopped accidentally spending. The snowball turned him from passive to active. Now, the book doesn't pretend this is easy socially. Part of the challenge is that your environment will fight you. Friends will call you cheap. Family will pressure you to participate. Coworkers will invite you into spending rituals that feel like bonding. Sam had a moment like that in a group chat. Someone suggested an expensive weekend trip. Everyone replied with excitement. Sam stared at the screen, thumb hovering, feeling that old fear of being left out. He typed, "I'm in," and then stopped. He deleted it. He wrote, "I'm sitting this one out. I'm on a debt payoff mission." Then he hit send and felt his heart pound, like he had just told the truth out loud for the first time. Some people teased him. One person said, "Respect." And that was enough, because he had chosen a new identity. He was not the guy who always said yes and then panicked later. He was the guy who said no now so he could breathe later. And this is where Sam's story takes a turn. Because paying off debt does something deeper than freeing cash flow. It trains you to tolerate discomfort without collapsing. And that skill becomes the engine for everything that comes next. After the debt snowball, the book moves into the chapter about finishing the emergency fund. The starter fund helps with the small surprises, but real life has bigger punches. The plan's next move is building a fully funded emergency fund, which in Ramsey's system is typically several months of expenses saved in cash. This is the moment where people finally start to feel safe. The chapter calls it "Kick Murphy Out," which is basically saying, stop letting random bad luck destroy your life. Sam had always lived with Murphy as a roommate. Murphy was the guy who showed up with a flat tire, a broken phone, a sick day, a rent increase, a surprise fee. Sam used to handle Murphy with panic and plastic. Now he handled Murphy with cash. He built his emergency fund slowly. It wasn't glamorous, it was repetitive, it was boring. But every time he added to it, something inside him relaxed. It's like putting on a seatbelt. The seatbelt doesn't prevent accidents. It prevents accidents from ruining you. Then something happened that tested it. His job cut overtime for a month. Sam's paycheck dipped. Old Sam would have swiped a card to maintain the same lifestyle and told himself it was temporary. New Sam didn't do that. He adjusted. He paused extras. He used a small piece of his emergency fund to cover the gap and then refilled it when overtime returned. He didn't spiral. He didn't shame himself. He didn't pretend. He just executed. That's what financial peace starts to feel like. It is not the absence of problems, it is the presence of a plan. The book shifts from defense to offense. Once you are out of consumer debt and you have an emergency fund, you have something most people never experience. Margin. Margin means your money is not already spoken for before it arrives. Margin is oxygen. And with oxygen, you can start building a future. That leads into maximizing retirement investing. The idea is simple. You consistently invest a portion of your income for the long term, building wealth through steady contributions over time. Sam used to think investing was something you do after you make it. He imagined it like a club you join when you're already rich. But once his debt payments disappeared, he realized something shocking. He just wasn't rich enough to keep his money because it was leaking into payments. He set up automatic contributions and watched his accounts grow slowly. It was not instant dopamine. It was not a fireworks moment. It was a seed growing underground. Think of investing like planting a tree. The first year, it looks like nothing is happening. The second year, it still looks small. Then you look away for a few years and suddenly there's shade. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, okay, but what about kids? The book addresses that too with college funding. This can be an emotional topic because it's tied to love and responsibility. People want to give their kids opportunities. They want to protect them from struggle. The book's mindset is that you plan ahead and save intentionally rather than improvising with loans later. Sam didn't have kids yet, but his sister did, and he watched her stress. She wanted the best for her child, but she was also drowning in payments. Sam noticed something that stuck with him. When money is messy, every loving choice becomes stressful. When money is organized, love becomes easier. So Sam started a small fund anyway, even before he needed it, because he realized the behavior matters more than the timing. He was becoming a person who plans. Paying off the home mortgage. This step is about removing the largest payment most households carry. It's not just about owning a home, it's about owning your time. A mortgage payment is often the biggest weight on the monthly budget. When it disappears, your options explode. Sam did not own a home yet, but he had a friend who did. His friend looked successful, but he was locked in. Every decision was filtered through that payment. Sam started dreaming differently. He started thinking about buying a home he could actually afford, not a home that would impress people. That is a subtle shift, but it changes everything because it fights the Joneses mentality at the deepest level. It says, I am not building a life to look rich. I am building a life to be free. Now stay with me here because this next idea ties the entire book together. The Build Wealth Like Crazy chapter is where Ramsey leans into the long game. This is the stage where your money begins to behave like a worker. Your investments grow, your home is paid off, your emergency fund sits like a shock absorber. Your income is yours. And because your basics are covered, you stop making desperate moves. You can take opportunities from strength instead of fear. Sam got a taste of this before he fully reached it. After months of debt payoff and savings, he noticed he was different at work. He was calmer. He was less reactive. He didn't panic when a manager hinted at changes. He didn't feel trapped in office politics. Not financial leverage in the risky sense, but personal leverage. He could say, no, that doesn't work for me, because he wasn't one emergency away from disaster. That is real power. Then the book comes to one of its most famous lines, and it shows up in the final chapter too. Live like no one else, so later you can live like no one else. That line is not just catchy, it's a philosophy of seasons. Most people want to skip the sacrifice season. They want the results without the awkwardness. But the book argues that the awkwardness is the price of freedom. Sam had lived through the awkwardness. He said no when people said yes. He ate simple meals when others ordered out. He drove the same car when others upgraded. He stayed focused when others drifted. And then something happened that felt almost unfair. He started winning. Not because he got lucky, not because he found a secret trick. He started winning because he stopped losing. His money stopped leaking into payments. His stress stopped leaking into impulse purchases. His future stopped leaking into yesterday. He was still Sam, same job, same brain, same life. But his system was different, and the system changed the outcome. That's why the book includes stories of winners, people who went through the makeover and came out transformed. The point is not perfection. The point is possibility. It shows that ordinary people can do something extraordinary when they stop outsourcing their decisions to culture. Now, let's zoom out for a second and talk about why this still matters so much. Modern life is designed to make spending effortless. Payments are frictionless. Ads are personalized. Buy now is everywhere. The default setting of society is to keep you consuming. If you do not have a plan, you will accidentally build a life that requires your entire paycheck forever. That is why a total money makeover is not just about money. It is about freedom. It is about peace in your own head. It is about waking up and not feeling that quiet dread. Sam felt that change one morning in a tiny moment. He opened his banking app out of habit, expecting the usual tightness in his stomach. It wasn't there. He saw margin. He saw savings. He saw progress. And he realized he hadn't argued with his money in weeks. That's the transformation. Not a perfect life. A calmer life. A life where you get to decide. Now, can you guess what the most dangerous part of debt really is? It is not the interest. It is not the payment. It is not even the stress. The most dangerous part is that debt normalizes helplessness. It trains you to accept that you will always owe someone. It trains you to accept that your future is already spoken for. This plan breaks that training. It retrains you to believe that you can do hard things. It starts small with $1,000. It builds momentum with the snowball. It creates safety with the emergency fund. It builds wealth through investing. It plans ahead for education. It clears the mortgage. It accelerates wealth. It ends with a life that is intentionally different. It is a sequence for a reason. And it works because it is not based on perfect math. It is based on human nature. Sam needed that. Most people do. Because when you are stressed, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So the real gift of this book is not a new idea. It is a new system. Think of it like a set of rails laid down in front of you. You still have to move, you still have to push. But the rails keep you from wandering into the swamp every time you have a bad day. Sam still had bad days. He still got tempted. He still felt envy sometimes. But now he had rails. And every time he stayed on them, he got stronger. Now, before we close, let's turn everything we covered into action you can actually use, starting today. And because knowledge without action is just entertainment. Here are 4 things you can start doing right now based on what we just covered. First, you can face the mirror and write down every debt, every minimum payment, and every due date in one place. You can do it on paper if you want, because the point is clarity, not fancy tools. When you see the whole picture, the fog disappears, and the fog is where denial hides. Second, you can create a starter emergency fund goal and treat it like a mission, not a wish. You can sell items you do not use, pause subscriptions, pick up extra hours, and route every extra dollar into that starter buffer until it is done. That buffer changes how you behave in the next crisis. Third, you can choose your debt snowball order and commit to the smallest balance first, even if your brain argues. Then you can make it a game. You can track wins. You can celebrate each payoff because celebration reinforces the behavior that will carry you through the hardest months. Fourth, you can build a Joneses filter before you spend. You can ask one simple question every time you feel pressure to buy something. Or toward payments. That single question slows the impulse down long enough for your real priorities to speak. If you do those 4 things consistently, you will feel momentum. And momentum is the fuel that takes you from stuck to unstoppable. Sam learned that money is not about being perfect. Money is about being intentional. The makeover is not magic. It is discipline, repeated, until your life looks different. That's it for this video. I hope it was useful and gave you something real to think about. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.